Well, hi guys, welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Are you a Who Dat fan? If you're a Who Dat fan, subscribe to this channel. I love the Saints as much as you do. Think of me as a friend or a coworker. You want to talk to me about the Saints? We've got that in common. We're part of the Who Dat family. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. I respond to my comments. And tune into my videos. Find out what I'm thinking. Subscribe right now. It's free. And you can have me in your subscriptions. And anytime I've got something to say about our beloved Bless You Boys, I'll be right there for you to hear it. And yeah, let's have a relationship in this family. Let's talk about these things. What do I want to talk about today? Well, the scouting combine was a week ago, and everybody's talking about all the big risers and perhaps fallers and who did great and who are the exceptional athletes and yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a list in this video of some of my draft crushes. These are players at every position that that I like, and I'm going to talk about some that are way down the boards. And a lot of this is upon reflection on the scouting combine, but mostly it's I'm sticking true to who I've liked from the beginning. So we'll just look at a big list and we'll highlight a few players. Yeah, that's about what I think would be pretty good after the scouting combine. Just let you guys know what I'm thinking at every position and how these players can fit into the Saints, and I'll give you a heads up as kind of what round they should be considered in. But let's look at a big list of players. First, we'll look at the quarterbacks. Not much going on there. I'm going to highlight two of them. I mean, I've always liked Ty Simpson out of Alabama. He's he's talking. They're talking about him being a late first round pick now. So I'm not interested in getting a quarterback at all this year. But one guy I did want to highlight is Baron Morton, the quarterback out of Texas Tech. You know, he had a good season, and I guess he has some physical limitations. He's 6'2", 221 pounds. So he's not 6'4", 235, but he's not short at all. 9.5-inch hands. He's a senior. And, you know, as far as his athleticism goes, it's fine. I think that he is really accurate with his passes. I believe his ability to layer and to drop in, you know, over the linebacker before the safety, those kind of touch passes that you could never see from Spencer Rattler, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't worry about his size at all. I think that Baron Morton's being slept on. I think that he's going to end up being a very late round draft pick or perhaps undrafted. And I think it's somebody the Saints should target. I've liked him all year long. And whatever issues people have with him, I mean, comes with the territory with a young quarterback. I I like him. I like the accuracy. I like the ball placement. He's a tough dude. He can run. So I've got my eye on Baron Morton as an undrafted free agent after the draft. But you know, you never know. I mean, our last pick in the draft is a sixth round pick. I don't see us spending it on a quarterback at all. But that's my 2 cents on who I like at quarterback. At running back, well, we all love Jeremiah Love, and despite a lot of people pushing against it, I still think he's the best option for the Saints if he's on the board, regardless of who else is on the board. I think Jeremiah Love would and should be our pick. But you know, there's talk he's going to go pick 3, pick 4 overall. I do not want to trade up to go and get him. I want to get a running back in free agency. Even if it's a big ticket name, I would still take Jeremiah Love with the 8th overall pick. I would have, you know, I would have to think about it if I get a guy at free agency. But Love is a special player to me. But who else do I like after Love? I like Jardarian Price. Jar, I want to say Jardarian, but I don't think that's how he pronounces it. Jadarian is how I think he pronounces it. Ask him. Price. He's good. He's all right. I mean, I like him. Would I take him in the second round with pick 42? No. Will he be there in round three at pick 72, 73 when we pick in the third round? Probably not. But I like Price. I also like Jonah Coleman. I like Katron Allen. I like Keelan Black, Damon Claiborne, Jamari Taylor, Le'Veon Moss. Le'Veon Moss doesn't get talked about at all. I mean, we're talking about round six. If he gets drafted by this team, perhaps even an undrafted guy. But Moss has a lot of ability. That's one of those guys that whoever gets him is going to get a pretty good player. Uh, Katron Allen, Penn State. I think he could tote the rock for you 20 times a game, even though he shared time in college. I like Keelan Black a lot. He still figures to go in day three, and that's where I would focus on taking him. But I think he has the ability to be, a high usage running back for our team. Damon Claiborne, he's all right. He's got a lot of ability, but, not ready for the pros just yet. It might take some time to develop Claiborne. I think Moss is probably more pro ready than Claiborne. The two guys I'm going to focus here on first, Jamari Taylor out of Virginia, 5'10", 199 pounds, 30-inch arms. Isn't the great length for arms. He's a senior, but Taylor was, a good college player, and I see a lot of potential for him in the pros. So when you're talking about a day three pick, if I had my choice between Claiborne or Jamari Taylor, I'd probably go with Taylor. That's where I'm at there. But what about day two pick? I gotta say, Jadarian Price probably won't be there in the third round. But somebody that might is Jonah Coleman. And I'm going to talk about him for a second. 5'8", 220 pounds. This senior is one of the best backs in the draft. But because he runs like in the 4.5s for the 40s, and he's really short, he's compact. So he's not very fast. He doesn't have burst. He doesn't have elusiveness. He's just a bowling ball of a running back that's going to run you over, probably break contact because of his thickness. You worry about his 29-inch arms. That's pretty short for a running back, but I don't think he had any issues with fumbling in his career. So I'm highlighting Jonah Coleman because I think because he's slow and he's short and has short arms that people might, lean towards somebody with better measurables, faster guy, expect some brilliance when Jonah Coleman is a pretty complete back. He needs to work on pass protection, run blocking. He needs to work on his routes. He needs to work on his hands and receiving. He's got work to do too, but I think he would be a pretty good back to have, especially early downs, carrying the rock for you. I have a feeling he'll be there in the third round, and I think he would be a steal for the Saints. So I'm highlighting him there. You notice on this running back list, somebody I don't have is Mike Washington Jr. He had a great combine. His measurables, his size profile is elite. His speed profile is elite. He's talking about 6'3", 6'4" running back that's 220 something pounds and can run a 4.33. Yeah, I'd cry too if I could run straight speed that fast. My issue with Washington is if it's an outside zone run, it takes him a few extra steps to get there. He might have straight line speed, but he doesn't cut into his breaks. He doesn't one cut very quick. I don't find at all. And he's had 10 fumbles in his college career. So, yeah, you could be the biggest, fastest guy on the planet, and there's few to for there's few in the league that you can compare to Mike Washington Jr. because of that size speed profile. He's elite 100%, when it comes to that. But if you can't hold on to the ball, and he's well below what's required for a third down back when it comes to pass protection. So he's not here. It wouldn't break my heart if we got him. But Mike Washington Jr., that guy, fifth round. That's where I'm thinking. And I know I can hear Ross and everyone else who loves him right now saying, you might get that guy in the second round. Go ahead. He had 3 fumbles this past year. He's 10 in his career. And yeah, he reminds me of Isaac Urendo from a couple of years ago. I think San Fran grabbed him in the third or fourth round, maybe fifth round. He's a day 3 guy to me. All right, let's go to wide receiver. Of course, your top 3, Cornell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson. Of course, they're going to be on my favorites list. Denzel Boston is another guy. I think he's a stud. I think he would be a great wide receiver to grab. Omar Cooper Jr. might be a first round pick. Second round guy for sure. Malachi Fields. After the combine, people are kind of cooling off on him a little bit. He was always a third round grade, but people were giving him second round buzz. Now after the combine, people want to drop him again. Man, Fields is there in the third round. What a steal. Chris Bell out of Louisville. We want the reunion. We want to grab him in the second round, and that would be sweet. Second round grade on Chris Bell. He would be great to get in the second round. Malachi Fields, I think he'd be good to get at 42 too. People are upset because he's big and slow or whatever. Come on, man. If he's there in the third round, that would be insanity. Zachariah Branch is a guy I like, but he's really small. He'll make plays, but I wouldn't grab him till the third round. And before I highlight Elijah Surratt out of Indiana, I'm going to talk about Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. I wouldn't take him till the third round, but he's a solid player. I think he'll be a good pro. Jacoby Lane out of USC. He's a one-trick pony. He's really tall, and he can use his height in contested catch situations. Lane isn't a contested catch god, though. I think he's pretty light for as tall as he is, like 6'4", but only 200 pounds or something. So Lane needs to put on some weight. But I still have him on this list because his combine was surprising. Surprising athleticism for this big dude. I kind of didn't see it on the tape. So there's this, yeah, do you take a chance? Well, no, not until maybe the fourth round. But if he's still there in the fourth round, maybe I get excited as a coach, knowing that this dude is athletic. Maybe I think I can coach him up into being a better player than what he already is. So, day 3 consideration for Lane, Ted Hurst out of the small school Georgia State has really good size and speed, and Hurst is probably getting third round buzz right now. He'd be a solid day 3 guy. Josh Cameron out of Baylor, he's got the same size as Chris Bell pretty much, and I'm excited about a guy like that, 6'1", 6'2", 220. Can make a lot of things happen. He was pretty productive in college. Cameron's definitely a day 3 guy. Bryce Lance out of North Dakota State. He's the brother of Trey Lance. Bryce Lance is fast and big, like 6'3", 6'4". Really fast. He had a good combine. Good showing at the Senior Bowl. Lance is one of those small school guys that you want to take a chance on. And if you want to take a chance on him in the third round, that's kind of rich for me. I would wait till day 3. Dazon Stribling out of Ole Miss. Every time I watch Ole Miss, Stribling always manages to make plays. He's big. He had a really good combine. He's fast. Everybody's talking about him now in this deep class of wide receiver. He was an afterthought. I mean, talking about seventh round projection. And now, after the combine, everybody's like, oh, yeah, he is pretty good. And now he's getting that round four buzz. So I would take him in day three, along with Tyron Montgomery out of John Carroll University. He wasn't an invite to the combine, so it depends on if people really like what they saw at the Senior Bowl, where he shone. He was really good at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, I would take a chance on him with one of them fifth round picks for sure. Jeff Caldwell out of Cincinnati. He was always on everyone's radar as a day three guy, but he had a great combine. So good that I'm not sure where Caldwell's going to go now. I projected him as a sixth round pick, and those that combine was great. Fast. He's big, 6'4" guy running a sub 4.4, and has the explosion numbers too. So I don't know. That's pretty good stuff for a coaching staff. I would wait till day three to take Caldwell for sure. And the last guy I have mentioned here is Colby Young, and I'm going to highlight him for a second. He's not expected to get drafted. Colby Young is 6'5", 218 pounds, out of Georgia. He's a senior. He just never was a number one receiver the whole time he was in college. Of course, he was at Georgia, and they've got great wide receivers around him. Every time Colby Young made a play, I was impressed. I don't know how many targets he got. So there's that. I don't think it's a lack of production because he's not good. I think it's just a depth chart kind of thing, and maybe there's a lot of really good players at Georgia. I mean, a lot of their receivers, besides Zachariah Branch, a lot of their receivers are projected to go day three. Colby Young ain't going to get drafted at all. He's got 32-inch arms, and he had a pretty good combine. I'm mentioning Colby Young because I think he is high priority, undrafted free agent. And if you grab him in round five or round six, I don't think you're doing too bad. And the guy I'm going to highlight here next, Elijah Surratt. My goodness, out of Indiana. I've always loved this guy. He was a second round projection. Now Omar Cooper, his teammate, is the second round projection, and people have forgotten all about Elijah Surratt. 6'2", 209 pounds, senior. Great compliment to Olave if we were to draft him. People think he's going to fall into the third round now. I think Elijah Surratt makes sense in the second round, big time. People have forgotten about him because he didn't go to the Senior Bowl. That dropped his stock to from second round to third round just for not showing up at the Senior Bowl. And he wasn't at the combine either. But he played 4 years of football and he's got 44 receiving touchdowns in his career. I'm not going to forget a guy who averaged over 10 touchdowns a year in his college career. I love Elijah Surratt. That's one of my main targets. If I had a choice between Elijah Surratt or Chris Bell at wide receiver in the second round, I'm leaning towards Surratt. That's how much I like him. Bell's really good too, though. Okay, let's go to tight end now. Yeah, everybody loves Kenyon Sadiq. Everybody loves Eli Stowers. Kenyon Sadiq is probably it's too rich to take him at 8, but he's going to get drafted shortly after that. And then Eli Stowers, he might be there in round 2 at pick 42, but he's pretty much a big wide receiver. Terrific, athletically gifted big wide receiver. It's a redundancy. It's kind of like getting another Juwan Johnson, but Stowers is immensely more athletic than Johnson. But you're not getting an inline blocker if you grab Stowers. So, yeah, I'm kind of the belief you hit tight end in free agency and then let the draft fall to you in round 3, round 4, and see what you got to work with there. Don't spend a second round pick on Stowers. That's how I feel. Wait until the third round or the fourth round and focus on Max Clare out of Ohio State or Justin Joly out of North Carolina State. Those two players I think are going to be good pros. Max Clare will certainly be an all around really good tight end in this league. Justin Joly has a lot of potential to be a complete tight end. I think he'll be a force. Oh, hold on a sec. All right. So Max Clare, Justin Joly, that's my top two considerations in the third round. And then I'm a fool for Dolan Bentley. I like Eli Raridan. I like Jack Injuries, but I like him kind of later in the draft. Oscar Delp, I'm a fool for that dude, but I like him later in the draft. And Sam Roush out of Stanford, yeah. So Roush and Bentley are two guys that, before the combine were day 3 considerations. You're probably talking fifth round, sixth round. I don't know how high they go now. I've been a fan of both of those guys this whole time. And I'll start with Dolan Bentley out of Utah, 6'4", 253 pounds. Really good size for a tight end. Can inline block, no problem. Had great stats this past year. He's got 33-inch arms, not bad. He's a senior. Bentley's RAS score after the combine is expected to be around 9.37. And that's really good for a RAS score for a tight end. If teams are excited about RAS scores, then maybe Bentley jumps up into round 3, round 4. A lot of potential there. I really like Dolan Bentley. I got him in the 5th round in a recent mock that I did. And yeah, I don't know after the combine if that's going to be possible or not. But as impressive as Bentley is, Sam Roush was even more impressive. Though Roush out of Stanford didn't have the stats Bentley had this past season. Roush is an impressive dude, 6'6", so he's taller than Bentley, 267 pounds, so he's bigger than Bentley. He's got 10-inch hands. I think Roush has short arms compared to Bentley. 6'6", dude, man, He's a senior. That RAS score for Roush, 9.99. Doesn't get much better than that. And yeah, so you look at the lack of production, but you see flashes. Roush is going to be a good uh, mismatch as a receiver, but an excellent blocker. I'm high on getting either Sam Roush or Dolan Bentley in this draft. I think they can develop into a complete tight end in this league, and that's something we don't have on the team. Attack tight end in free agency for sure, and get yourself a starter next to Juwan Johnson. But then if you can draft one of these guys on day 3, especially round 4, late in round 4, you might have yourself a tight end for the future. All right, let's talk about the offensive line next. Offensive tackle. I'm going to highlight just a handful of players we're not expected to take a tackle. Blake Miller out of Clemson is a guy that people think he's going to go in the second or third round. He might go in the first round. Blake Miller's one of those guys that has some upside to him. So if the Saints surprise anyone by going Miller in the second round, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say except that maybe you're moving a tackle to guard at that point. Max Ienachor out of Arizona State has impressed everyone. He's a big dude, and he's probably not going to last past the second round. So Miller and Ienachor are second round guys. I think they have some upside and can play in this league. So you might be making a move to guard. You might be putting Fuanga to guard if you grab one of those guys in the second round. But hey, at least it's not grabbing them in the first round, right? Caleb Tiernan out of Northwestern is another guy. I've always liked him. He's big. He's got kind of short arms for a 6'6" dude. But I think Tiernan's going to make it in the league, and I think he would make a pretty good guard, even though he's tall. I have this feeling Tiernan's still going to be on the board in the third round, and that would be some great value. Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame is a guy that needs to put on a little weight, but he's got great length for the position, and he needs to develop some. I kind of look at Wagner as a fifth, sixth, or seventh round guy. But the guy I'm going to highlight here at tackle is Trey Zun the third out of Texas A&M. I really like Zun the third. I like everybody on Texas A&M's offensive line. I just like all of them in the day three. But I think they're all solid and they can all make it in the league. Zun is an interesting guy, 6'6", 312 pounds, 32-inch arms, so the arms could be a little longer, right? But he had 33 bench reps. He's strong. Yeah, they say those short arms help with the bench reps. But what I like most about Zun, this senior, is he plays all along the offensive line and can do it all at a pretty average clip. So if you draft Zun on day three, you might not be getting your future starter at tackle, guard, or center, but you're getting a guy that's going to stick on the team because I think his versatility is there. He may not be the best backup tackle, but he could play it. He may not be the best backup guard, but he can play it. And he might not be the best backup center when it's all said and done, but he can play it. And I love having a guy like that on my team. When you're drafting in a day three and you're getting an offensive lineman, most people are hoping they develop into some great starter. You got to consider the salary cap and building your team. Getting a versatile piece like Zun, especially in late in the fourth round, that would be a huge value because the guy's going to stick. He might not start, but he'll make the team. He'll prove his worth, and perhaps over the course of his rookie contract, he develops and becomes a really good guard for you. So I like Zun. I mean, when you're talking about offensive tackle, you don't expect the Saints to touch it. That would be valuable to me. A guy like Zun in the fifth round would just be perfect, exactly how you should use your capital, draft capital. Offensive guard, that is something we definitely need, and this list is full of players that I love. I don't have Chase Basanis out of Texas A&M on this list, but I like him. Olaiva Vega, Ioane. Oh my goodness, Penn State. Yeah, we ain't drafting him with pick 8, but man, if we can get a big package to trade down, I'm just saying. Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon, he's another one. Supposed to go in the second round, early second round, and would be a great pick at 42 for the Saints. But he's another one that might go in the first round. Basantis is also getting that second round consideration. But Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech, a guy I'm going to highlight right now. 6'4", 316 pounds, 33-inch arms. He's a senior. He has a RAS score of 9.62 after the combine. That's really good. Everyone loves his tenacity. And yeah, they played him all along the offensive line during the Senior Bowl practices. Rutledge is going to make a good guard. I think he's going to develop into a great starter in the league. And yeah, he's a guy that you get in the third round. So if Keelan Rutledge is there in round 3 with pick 73, grabbing him would be a great idea. A couple other players I'm going to mention. I'm going to mention Armaje Reed Adams out of Texas A&M. I love those Aggie offensive linemen. Reed Adams doesn't get any love at all. Crownover gets some love. Zun gets some love. Basanis gets some love. I'll give Reed Adams some love as well. That's a guy you can get with that sixth round pick. and be happy with it. Jeremiah Wright out of Auburn looked so good at the Senior Bowl that I'm assuming he's going to be a round three guy. But on a lot of these mock draft simulator sites right now, Wright is still a day three prospect. I've been drafting him in the fifth round. So we'll see what kind of effect the Senior Bowl practices had for the guy. Wright's really good. I would take him with one of them fifth round picks if he's still there real fast. And I'm going to mention Kobe Baines out of Kansas. Nobody gives my Kansas offensive lineman any love. Kobe Baines at guard, and since he's not getting any love, you might get him undrafted. But worth a shot. I like what I saw on the tape there with him. At center, oh yeah, we need a backup center. And we also have a great starting center in McCoy who just can't stay healthy. The McCoy's not an older guy. I mean, I think he's only 28. You could still get plenty of good years out of McCoy if he avoids injury. I don't want to move on from McCoy if he remains healthy. I don't know if you improve on McCoy if he remains healthy. That's a big if. So I'm focusing on guys. Connor Lew out of Auburn is the consensus number one center, but he's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I think he missed some time last year and he hasn't participated in anything in the offseason. So out of sight, out of mind means he might be there in round three. He'd be a good pick. If he falls to round four, you might trade up to go get him. Sam Hecht out of Kansas State is another one. I've always liked him. A little on the light side. He's not weak, but I worry about smaller guys. But he's kind of small. Lou's not very big, and Jake Slaughter out of Florida isn't very big either. Well, I do like the effort there. Logan Jones, another one that's really small. Centers are always so small. But man, Logan Jones is a technician. If you can get Lou, Hecht, Slaughter, or Jones in this draft, I think you have the potential of a future starter at center. But I'm going to also mention the last two, Pat Coogan out of Indiana, Bryce Foster out of Kansas. I'm going to say it again. Get that guy undrafted if he doesn't get drafted and bring him in and prove me wrong because I like Baines and Foster out of Kansas. But I'm going to highlight Pat Coogan out of Indiana, the national champions. 6'5", 311 pounds. So he's got decent size for a center. At 311 pounds, he could make it at guard, but he did play guard when he was at Notre Dame before moving to Indiana. So Coogan would be a great pick on day three as a true interior offensive lineman because he can play center and guard. And he's got 31-inch arms, so you worry about arm length, but got him in the middle of the offensive line. You don't have to worry about it too much there. I think Coogan is a great guy to focus on. All right, that's the offensive guys I wanted to highlight after the combine. Let's take a look at all of the defensive players that got my attention after the combine. I'm telling you, I didn't sway much. I'll let you know when somebody really, really blew me away. And yeah, as far as the combine goes, wide receiver Jacoby Lane surprised me with what he was able to do. Sam Roush at tight end blew me out of the water, but I was always a fan of those guys. But I was souring on Lane, and now I'm considering him again. So it's not like scouting combine doesn't have some effect. You want to be proven right and wrong with these numbers, and let's take a look at the defense. I've got a cluster here at defensive line. And I'm going to pull them all up right here. I'm not sure how I have them listed here. I'm going to tell you, though, between the nose tackles and the defensive tackles that could potentially play defensive end, there's a lot of really good players to choose from on the defensive line. And our team needs it big time. I'm going to start with Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. Has always been at the top of my list for defensive tackles. He, along with Caleb Banks out of Florida, Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, Peter Woods out of Clemson. Those are the consensus top four. I've always been a fan of Lee Hunter, but when you watch him in college, overall production, um, he's just, in my opinion, not a first round tackle. I expect Lee Hunter to go in the second round. And then after the combine, where he performed very poorly, I would expect Hunter to fall into the second round. I like the makeup of the player. I don't mind the numbers are that bad. I see what he does on the field. It's kind of missing at times, but Hunter was surrounded by great players on that Texas Tech defense too. So maybe he's a babe in the woods without those guys. Maybe he was one of the reasons those guys were that good. I like Hunter. Okay, Banks and McDonald should go in the first round. Peter Woods, who would be a great defensive end for us, should go in the first round. Lee Hunter, I'm expecting might fall. And the rest of these guys might fall into the second round and further as well. Christian Miller out of Georgia. I want to highlight him to start with. 6'4". I think he's 305 pounds. I saw a couple of listings where he was 321. 321 is approaching that nose tackle type size. Maybe he has played at 321 in his past, but his most recent measurements have him at 305 pounds, and I think Miller would be a great defensive end on our team. So, when I say defensive end, I mean right next to the nose tackle, hand in the dirt. Edge rusher to me in our defensive scheme, edge rusher to me is outside linebacker. Defensive end is hand in the dirt on the line, which could be occupied by a three tech like Christian Miller. Christian Miller has 33-inch arms, 10-inch hands. He's a redshirt junior. He's a first round talent, and he's probably going to fall into the second round. If we grab him with pick 42 in the second round, it might shock some people. But I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon here talking about the Brandon Staley defense and what he had to be successful in his past and what he has now. We're going to do a whole, profile expose on Brandon Staley and how many of these players would actually fit. I think defensive line, improving the defensive line could go a long way in making our really good defense great. And Christian Miller could be a part of that. Some other guys I'm going to talk about, bigger guys, nose tackles, Dominique Orange out of Iowa State, Dante Corleone out of Cincinnati, Daryl Jackson Jr. out of Florida State, Tim Keenan III out of Alabama. Those guys are all nose tackle types that you can start considering in the third round. I think if one of those guys is still there late in the fourth round, you grab them for sure because too much upside at that point. A little rich with the third round pick for me to go and get those guys with the third round pick. Xavier Harris out of Ole Miss is another guy that would fit good at the nose. Who would fit as a swing defensive tackle, defensive end type? Well, I'm going to highlight a couple of them here, starting with Chris McClellan out of Missouri. Chris McClellan, 6'4", 313 pounds, 34-inch arms is huge. 11-inch hands, huge. This guy's big and can make things happen. He's got a relative athletic score of 8.48. And, some people are thinking, well, we'll see. 25 bench reps. I like the tape on McClellan. I like his. I think he's active. So despite not being great on the athletic scale, he's got the size to be elite at a defensive end for sure, and flexibility. He can kick inside for sure and play that nose passing situations kind of thing. But I'm a fan of McClellan. I think that because his athletic profile isn't like some, he could fall in the day three, and that's a late fourth round consideration for the Saints. Another late round consideration for the Saints could be Nick Barrett out of South Carolina, 6'3", 312 pounds. Doesn't have the length of McClellan, 33 inches instead of 34, 10-inch hands instead of 11-inch hands. But his athletic score is a little better, 8.65. Barrett's a senior as well. I like Barrett. I like the tape on Barrett. I think he's active as well. That's why I highlight McClellan and Barrett here. Barrett has the better relative athletic score, but McClellan has a better physical stature. So McClellan in round four would be good for me. Nick Barrett in round 5 or 6 would be pretty good for me. And there's some other guys that people don't talk about a lot that would be pretty good defensive ends for us. Skylar Gill Howard out of Texas Tech. He was next to Lee Hunter. I think that dude would make a great defensive end. Hold on one sec. Okay. Rayshon Benny out of Michigan would be another guy that would move all along up and down the defensive line, and Benny would make a good end. I like what he can do against the run. I like his ability to rush the passer at times. Zane Durant out of Penn State is a guy I've always highlighted as a pass rusher, would be a really good defensive end to get late in the draft. You know, he may go as high as round 3. He had a really good combine. And Grayson Holton out of Oklahoma, who I loved, and I thought, go get him in the 6th round. He's an effort guy. Well, he showed up at the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl, whichever one, practices and looked really good against good competition, and then had a really good combine. So people are kind of looking at Holton as round 4 now. I wouldn't do that. But round 5, round 6, a good effort guy. Yeah. But I'm going to highlight last on this defensive line, Albert Regis. I love him out of Texas A&M. I watched a lot of Texas A&M this year, and Regis was always in the mix. 6'1", 295 pounds. So he's a perfect size for a defensive end for our 3-4 look. 32-inch arms, you worry? Not so much. Almost 10-inch hands. So there's that, but then he had a really good combine. His relative athletic score is 9.1. And people weren't really talking about Regis before. And after that combine, with that relative athletic score, maybe he will be a point of interest in day 3. Regis has really good tape against the run, and that's what I like most about him. So at 6'1", slightly under 300 pounds, he's a stud against the run. So I'm taking Regis. I'm taking Regis in round 4, round 5, or round 6, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm going to mention a couple of more defensive linemen. These guys may stand up and be an edge rusher, but I kind of look at them as defensive linemen. And that's this list right here, starting with Keldrick Falk of Auburn. I don't want him standing up rushing the passer. I want him at defensive end. He should be a first-round pick. I'm not too keen on getting him, but he would fit a defensive end for us pretty well. LT Overton out of Alabama, another guy who stands up and rushes, but I expect him to be a defensive end in our system. Deny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State. Love him. His weight fluctuates. I think right now They have him listed at 261, 262. And if he stays at that, then he should stand up and rush. But if we can get him to 275, 280, where he's played before, then he would make a really good defensive end. Active player, maybe a flex guy. Tariq Sapp out of Florida, I've always liked as a big defensive end for the Saints. And I'm going to focus on Gabe Akis out of Illinois. 6'4", 260 pounds. That's what he's listed now. He has played at up to 280. 33-inch arms, 30 bench reps. He's a senior. Akis is one of those can do it all, stand up and hand in the dirt. So if he stays at 260, he would be a great piece. Because I know he can make something happen on the line of scrimmage. I had him listed at 278 all year long. So Akis is one of those swing guys, interesting to get. Don't know if he stays at 260, if I would expect him to be handing the dirt all the time, of course, but we'll see where he plays at. And he's a flex guy, so if he stays at 260, I don't mind him standing up and rushing the passer at all. He was really good at whatever they asked him to do this past year. Okay, that's all the defensive linemen. Man, a lot of them. I love the class, though. I think we really should address defensive line several times to improve this team, where a lot of people don't focus a lot. And we need big improvements. All right, edge rushers, come on, let's get to it. The big list of edge rushers, of course, Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami is going to be a consideration at pick 8, along with David Bailey out of Texas Tech. I think Bain can put his hand in the dirt. I think Bailey and stand up. And Bailey's going to be strictly stand up. I worry about Bailey being out there all the time because he's a designated pass rusher. I love Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. I think he's another flex like Bain, can stand up or put his hand in the dirt. TJ Parker out of Clemson would fit very well if he falls to the second round. I think he would be a great outside linebacker type. Let's highlight Zion Young out of Missouri. Love that dude. 6'6", 262 pounds, 33-inch arms. He's a senior. His relative athletic score is going to be great. He's really good against the run, and he can rush the passer. And so I have no issues putting Young out there. I highlighted him as a shocking pick with pick 8 in the first round for the Saints. We're not going to do that. But if we trade back, he would be a late first round consideration. And if he falls into the second round, he'd be great to get. In round 2, I have to highlight Zion Young. He's one of my favorite all around edge rushers. I don't have a lot of questions with him. I don't have questions with Derek Moore either out of Michigan. I think he's really good against the run. He would make a good outside linebacker for the Saints, edge rusher. Romello Height out of Texas Tech is so small that just like David Bailey, I worry about him being out there all the time. He'd be a liability against the run. But designated pass rusher like David Bailey, his teammate, Romello Height would be a really good designated pass rusher. He could put on a little weight. He's got such good moves, though. I like Romello Height in the third round. I like him even more in the fourth round. Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee. I've always loved him. He's another smaller guy, but he could be good at outside linebacker, designated edge rusher, pass rusher guy. So, he has a second to third round grade. I would feel really good getting Josephs in the third round. And another guy that might go in the second round, I'm going to highlight here, Malachi Lawrence. I always talk about him out of UCF. 6'4", 253 pounds. Has 33 and 5/8-inch arms, which is great. He had a 40-inch vertical, which is really good. 10 foot 10 inches on the broad jump. Relative athletic score of 9.90. 9.9. Pretty damn good. So Lawrence was always a fourth round projection. Now people are talking about him going in the second or third round. If we get him in the second round, I wouldn't be upset. Same as Zion Young. I've got Malachi Lawrence and Zion Young around that same area. Lawrence is good against the run, and he's an exceptional pass rusher. So that's where I'm at with them. If we grab an edge rusher in the third round, someone like Derek Moore or Malachi Lawrence or Zion Young would make a lot of sense to me. Joshua Josephs. But I feel like Malachi Lawrence and Zion Young and Derek Moore can play the run pretty good. So I would lean towards them over Josephs or Romello Height. Nadami Tucker out of Western Michigan is a great day three pick. He has such good tape and great combine, pardon me, Senior Bowl stuff or wherever he went, practices and all that. Nadami Tucker is not an unknown anymore. I still wouldn't risk him in round three. Round four, yeah. Cray Moore out of Texas is another guy I would focus on in day three. If he's still there in round six and you don't have an edge rusher yet, he's definitely worth taking. And a guy I'm going to mention no one ever talks about, Mason Reiger out of Wisconsin. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, so I haven't even talked about him. Rieger or Reiger. I've always liked him. I like the tape. You worry about it. 6'5", so he's really tall, 251 pounds, so he's definitely, an edge rusher. 32 and 5/8 arm. His relative athletic score is 9.53, so it's pretty good. And I loved what I saw at the combine out of this guy. It was impressive to me. I see it on his tape, and then I see him do it at the combine, and I think he could probably do this in the pros. No one's really talking about him as one of those elite type of edge rushers. I mean, Reiger is definitely going to be there in day three, and getting him in the fourth round wouldn't upset me. But if he's still there in the fifth round, oh yeah, take him. Great player to take. Oh yeah, I like it. Sixth round, oh, steal. All right, those are the edge rushers. Ooh, this is a long video. Let's go on to the cornerbacks. Man, oh man, oh man. Of course, I love Mansoor Delane out of LSU. I could consider him with the eighth overall pick, as I could Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee. You fall into the second round with cornerbacks. I really like Colton Hood still being there in the second round, and it makes that decision tough. There's so many needs for the Saints. If we don't re-sign Alontae Taylor, we could use another outside cornerback. And then you get a guy like Colton Hood out of Tennessee falling to you in the second round. It would be tempting. Of course, if he's there and some of these other guys I've mentioned in the second round are still there, like Lee Hunter or Elijah Surratt, I'd probably be more likely to go with Hunter or Surratt, even though McCoy has a first round grade. I mean, Hood has a first round grade on some sites. It's a tough decision, but I do like Hood. D'Angelo Pond's just too damn small. Shoot. But man, he's going to be a good player. I don't feel like Pons should be drafted until the third round, but he's going to get taken in the second round. And when he makes great plays on the ball, you're going to be kicking yourself by not taking him in the second round. But he's so small. If I had my choice in the second round between D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana or Keontae Scott out of Miami, I would probably go with Scott because he's bigger. I would be thinking both of them are going to play nickel, and I would feel more comfortable with Scott. But God dang, man, if Pons was 2 inches taller and 10 pounds heavier, he'd be a first round guy. I love Pons. Just, I don't think I would pull the trigger on him until round three. And I know he ain't going to last that long. But I do love Keontae Scott, and I've talked about him a lot. Julian Neal out of Arkansas, I always like getting him in round three if he's still there. Round four for sure. And put that big dude on the outside, make things happen. Malik Muhammad out of Texas. kind of forgotten guy, but we got those Texas coaches on our team, and Malik Muhammad can do it all, so he would be a great pick. Devin Marshall out of North Carolina State is another guy. People forgetting about him. He has some really good tape. He he's built to play in this league, and I would consider Marshall in round 5 easily. Charles Demings out of Stephen F. Austin. Wow, great combine, great uh uh Senior Bowl, East West, whatever. And yeah, Demings, because he's a small school guy, might still be there in day 3. And man, if he's there in round 4, yeah, I think he's that good. You might take him in round 4, definitely round 5. But a guy I'm a fool for is Traydon Stukes out of Arizona. I've always loved Genesis Smith out of Arizona because I thought the players in that Arizona system would translate into Staley system well. But Genesis Smith is falling down my list. Traydon Stukes is shooting up the list. I've always liked him. 6'1", 190 pounds. Then he has a combine of the ages, 4.33 in the 40. He has a 38-inch vertical, a 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump. And when you see this athleticism, you see it on the tape. The thing I like about Stooks is he's a cornerback, but he played everywhere, including nickel, safety. That guy could do it all. He can line up everywhere. And you see a guy like that in college doing it. You see this athleticism, and then you think about Brandon Staley's defense. And when I do that video about Brandon Staley's defense, I'm definitely going to highlight Traydon Stukes. At one point, he was considered good enough to be second, third round guy. Most of these simulators have him going on day 3 right now. If we take him in round 3, I would not be upset because I think he fits that well into our defense. And speaking of fitting well in our defense, we're going to round this long video out with the safeties. Caleb Downs, of course. Jeremiah Love at running back is my number 1 pick for the Saints at pick 8, and Caleb Downs is my second guy. I think he fits in the star really well. He fits in this defense really well. You want to talk about the combine influencing my board, which I said it does a little, but not as much as it does for a lot of other people. 'Cause I think a lot of other people just don't know anyone. And then Mike Washington runs a 4.33, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get that guy. He's big and fast," and they don't know he fumbled 10 times. So I know enough about these players. And I used to say Dylan Thieneman was a guy that was a jack of all trades. He just wasn't great at one thing. He is great at one thing, and that's playing deep safety and covering a lot of ground and making plays on the ball. But I'm not sure if that's the kind of guy we're going to go after. Reed's pretty good deep. Um, and Julian Blackman is going to be our deep safety now that we have him. That dude's really good at making plays on the ball deep. Thieneman can cover a lot of ground, though, and he had a special combine. So Dylan Thieneman, to me, who I always said was a jack of all trades, but not great at one, his athletic profile at the combine has me thinking, okay, he's worth taking because if he is good at everything and he has this kind of athleticism, then certainly can develop into something special. So yeah, my attitude has changed because of the combine for Thieneman. Doesn't do it with a lot of people for me, but Dylan Thieneman, Thieneman, I like you. If you're there in round 2, it'd be hard to pass you up. AJ Halsey out of LSU, I think he'd fit in this defense very well. I love the playmaking ability. I'm not sure about taking him in the second round. If we do, that's something Brandon Staley sees. Let's go for it. Zakee Wheatley out of Penn State. I'm going to focus on him. Uh, I don't. I didn't find a RAS score on Wheatley. I'm not sure if he participated in everything at the combine, if he was there at all. 6'3", 203 pounds. He's a really good tackler, and that's why I like him. And he's also a really good zone player. And we run a lot of zone. So can he handle the mix match? Does he recognize patterns enough to be able to do that well? I don't know a lot about Wheatley, except I was always excited about him because he's good at zone and he can tackle. So I felt like he would fit into this defense. And I think we're going to focus on players that can tackle pretty well. So Genesis Smith, not so much as far as a tackler goes, not Genesis Smith, but Zakee Wheatley, yeah. Bud Clark out of TCU. I mocked him to the Saints with one of the first mock drafts I did. And I think I got him in like the fifth or sixth round. Yeah, that ain't happening anymore. Bud Clark's on everyone's radar now, and he had the chance to shine everywhere he's gone in the off season. So I'm thinking Bud Clark's a third round guy right now. I wouldn't take him in the third round. I'd take him in round four for sure. Michael Tapp out of Texas. He's a good tackler, and I think we're going to focus on that. So you could probably get him in round five or round six. But I'm going to highlight Jalen Kilgore once again. Always a guy I gravitate to in these mocks. I grab him in the fourth round. We have those two late fourth round picks. And if I don't cover nickel with Keontae Scott earlier on, then I go towards Jalen Kilgore. I haven't talked about linebackers yet. I'm going to have to go back to linebackers. Kilgore, 6'1", 210 pounds, 33-inch arms. Not bad for a safety. He's a junior, true junior. He had a 4.4 40. He had a 37-inch vertical, a 10-foot 10-inch broad. His RAS score is now a 9.97. So I always liked him because I liked what I saw at South Carolina from him. They went from all world guy that's with Seattle now, Nick Emmanwori, to Kilgore. Kilgore was highlighting at that nickel spot too, and safety. And so I'm a fan of Kilgore now that he has that 9.97 RAS. Everyone likes Kilgore all of a sudden. Great. My hopes of getting him late in the fourth round are probably all gone. But the third round wouldn't be a bad place to get him if he fits, if Brandon Staley sees him fitting. Okay, I saved the linebacker for last. How about that? Here's the linebackers. Yeah, I consider Arvell Reese a linebacker. Rel Reese. I don't know what he wants to go with now. Arvell. I'm still going to put Arvell until I know differently. Probably one of the number one prospects in the draft. The only way he falls to us at pick 8 is if no one else knows what to do with him because he's not built to be an every down edge rusher, unless you're in that linebacker kind of scheme that we have. So he could fit there. He could also be our middle linebacker. And Sonny Styles, of course, had the combine of the ages, and I was saying he was the best linebacker. If you put Reese at linebacker, he's the best linebacker along with Styles. Styles can probably rush the passer pretty good too. People see Reese as an edge rusher. I mean, that's what he said he wants to do. All right. There's flexibility there at linebacker or edge rusher with both of them either way. Sonny Styles would definitely get the green dot and be Demario Davis's replacement. And both of those guys are in my favorites to get at pick 8 for the Saints. Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. Everybody has issues with him, even though he was very productive in college. He keeps falling in the second round. If we grab him in the second round, I'd be fine with it. He would definitely be our future starting middle linebacker. Jake Golday out of Cincinnati is great size, decent everything in the offseason. So Golday's a stud. He's a second round guy. Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. Now everybody saw the combine. They know he's an athlete. They worried about it. I don't know. Maybe he plays fast. He gets to the ball. He's a playmaker. Maybe they just saw a white guy and thought, yeah, we can get more athletic than that. Now he's put up decent numbers of athleticism. I think his RAS is like a 9.6 or something. I mean, guy's a stud, okay? And I said he wouldn't get out of the second round. This was back when everyone was saying he would be a third or fourth round guy. But yeah, no, he'll be drafted in the second round. If he's there in the third round, he's a steal for the Saints. Josiah Trotter, son of Jeremiah Trotter Sr. Trotter's out of Missouri. He's pretty good linebacker. He needs to work on pass coverage, but you have some stuff there. Jay Sean Barham out of Michigan is a decent linebacker, but I like his flexibility to rush off the edge too. So you can utilize him kind of like you might Reese or a Styles. I like the upside of the edge rusher element to Barham's game. Bryce Bocher out of Oregon is a good linebacker. He'd be a solid piece to get on day three. Aiden Fisher out of Indiana is going to fall into day three. And yeah, I would get Fisher in the fifth round for sure. Red Murdoch out of Buffalo. Nobody talks about him. He'd be a great sixth round pick. Caleb E. Larms or out of TCU, one of the fastest linebackers in the class. And everybody knows about him now because of his combine work and Senior Bowl work. So Elarms or I like the physicality, but I wouldn't take him until day three for sure. I probably wouldn't take him until round six. I've always been a fan of Justin Jefferson out of Alabama, and I kind of look at him as a priority UDFA if no one drafts him. But if we got him in the sixth round, I wouldn't be upset. I keep saying sixth round because we don't have a seventh round pick. And Jack Kelly out of BYU, he impressed a lot during the Senior Bowl, so or the practices, and maybe Jack Kelly has performed his way into round four. I wouldn't touch him till at least round five. The guy I'm going to highlight to finish this video out, Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh. Love him. 6 foot. I've said in other videos he was 5'10, 5'11. He's 6 foot, 220 pounds. That's where the issue comes in. He's got a safety body. He's a hybrid, safety linebacker hybrid. 31-inch arms. That's not good. Redshirt junior. So, man can play football. He's got a relative athletic score of 8.64. The reason why is because of his size. His composite size at 6 foot 220 is very poor compared to the size of other linebackers. But his composite speed and his composite explosiveness is elite. And then you watch him at the Senior Bowl practices, he's just covering every running back no matter what, getting interceptions. I don't think he plays the star and covers, wide receivers from the slot, but I think that he could play that in the box kind of deal. Yeah, yeah. Highlight as like a star on a player too. Or like if you have a star here and you have a linebacker here like Isaiah Stallbird in an obvious passing situation, well, Kyle Lewis would be there. I think he brings you enough athleticism where, yeah, you're not sure when he's out there. What are they running? A nickel or a dime? You don't know. I think Lewis would be great. And another one I'm going to mention when I do that Brandon Staley video later on in a couple of days. So there you go. That's a long video. I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. Breaking down all these college players for you. Those are my draft crushes for the upcoming 2026 NFL draft. We are in 2026. I don't know what year it is anymore. Got my mind on all this stuff, and there you go, guys. Post combine video. If I'm ever going to do one, I'll let you know some numbers, let you know how I'm feeling. You let me know what you're thinking. Tell me if some of these players that are my draft crushes are any of your favorites. Subscribe to this channel, please, for more Saints information and more draft content. And we got free agency coming up next week, so we're going to have some reports on that as well. And constantly bringing up the roster for you and breaking this team down. I love the Saints as much as you do. So let's talk about them, fam. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?